So, Mr. Andre Lee Ellis, I'm eager just to be able to speak with you. I've asked you to come and be a part of a platform that I have through 25ToLIfe, and it's called HeSpeaks. And HeSpeaks is really designed to be able to put forth and to echo the voice of the man. So often there's women's groups and there's women's this and all this women empowerment and so many avenues for women to hear other voices of women. And I want to make sure that even as I have the opportunity to do that, to share with a lot of women, that I also have a door open to hear the voice of men, because I believe that the men are the leaders. I believe that the men are the head. And I also believe that, especially for the men in the Black community, the men, society wants to silence the men. And so, not so here. I want to hear from Black men. And so today I have Mr. Andre Lee Ellis on HeSpeaks, and he's going to share his perspective on different topics and also just enlighten us on all that he has done within his own community to make a difference. Welcome, Mr. Ellis.
Hey, God bless you, and good God morning to you and everybody.
Yes, sir. Okay, I know you to be a community icon. I know you to be a bridge, like from boys to men. You've been featured in so many articles or interviews, the Milwaukee Courier, various news channels, Karen Hunter show. You also do a whole lot of mentorship. The one thing I noticed about you, you love lifting up others, like putting others in the spotlight. I know that you specialize in helping boys, and I love how you show them who to look up to. I noticed something that you were doing where you were just featuring Mahib, and then I think it was Callie or Khalil Coleman, and just different things, different men like that who you have just lifted up to say, hey guys, these are some guys that are in the community that are doing amazing things. And it's not just me. And so not only look at me, but look at these guys as well. What inspires you to just be so intentional about everything that you do?
Well, God is good to me, number one. Me is we upside down any way you look at it.
Yeah.
We Got This came into my life special, but you know, most of the young men that you named, I probably have been working with them since they were teenagers, and now they've gone to be 30, 40 years old. You wouldn't be able to tell Khalil Coleman that he's not my son. He is.
Yeah.
His own father passed away, and without him knowing it, I came and laid at his feet with him right at his funeral. He had a Muslim funeral where they laid him in swaddling clothing. It was the first time I've been at anything like that. He didn't know I was coming. I didn't even know the funeral was happening. But someone called me and said, you know, his father's funeral is in like 15 minutes. And somehow I got dressed up. I didn't just get dressed. I got dressed up. And I was there maybe 5-10 minutes after the funeral started. And he was weeping a bit. And I came and sat at his father's feet. And it was at that moment that he said, you got to be my pops now. And ever since that moment, I've felt that it an honor. I often say to people, since my hands have gone into the soil, I may not be the birth dad. I am the earth dad.
Yeah.
And I thank God for the position. So I gotta live right, because I have to be a sample and an example to all of the young men, the single mothers, the daughters, and the women that they may marry one day, or that they just may date one day. I got to be a sample and an example that there's an old gray-haired one gray-haired old man out here who's trying to get it right. I tell people all the time, I ain't perfect, but I sure ain't playing.
I know that's right. I felt that. You mentioned the We Got This organization that you have. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What exactly that is?
Yeah, let's get down to that. And
Yeah,
I'm a very down to earth person too. There's no big eyes or little U's. Because death makes us equal. You know what
I
I
know that.
mean? But we got this came into my life at a time when my wife and I got very broke. We was down to our last diamond. We had to move over on Ninth and Ring, and they were calling that a jungle. And they were saying, you got to move on Ninth and Ring. And it was in the midnight hour. We happened to find a place that we had to clean up and fix up. And I was like, we got to move on Ninth and Ring. I don't care what you
Let me just
say.
say, Ninth and Ring is underserved neighborhood in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, correct?
53206 zip code, where they say it's the
Yes.
worst zip code in America where you can raise a black child at, and for a
And
family
you
to
had to
move
move
to.
there.
In fact, Milwaukee carries that title, period, negatively all over the country. But we moved there, and the first week that we were there, I went out to the corner store across the street to buy something. When I came out of the store and I walked in the house, and no sooner than I shut the door, 6 gunshots rang out. And they were so vivid that I thought someone was shooting at me. In fact, I stopped in my tracks. My wife ran from the kitchen and she gasped because she saw me standing there, and we didn't know. But when we realized it wasn't me, I looked out the window and there lay the young man dead in the streets. And as I went on the porch and watched this unfold for 4 or 5 hours with the yellow tape and seeing the family run and scream down the street, only to be met with the turn away that they couldn't come past the tape, that body now belongs to the state and the coroner to do whatever they need to do. I stood in the field and I was praying, and I was like, oh Lord, I done got that broke. Jesus, this is where I got to live. This is where I got to do the work. And God began to do some retro with me and take me back when I had been called into the ministry, and I had did my first sermon at the Mason Temple Church of God in Christ. And I remember while I was doing that sermon in the pulpit, God spoke to me and said, this is going to be your last time speaking in the pulpit, because I'm calling you to the streets. I'm not calling you to preach in the church. And I didn't listen, and I got hard-headed. I got disappointed with some things that were going on, and I left the church. But I didn't leave and go preach. I went back into the streets and I began to smoke my weed and do the things that I thought was what I wanted to do before God had called me. So when I was standing there, there was a cameraman from Channel 4 that I knew named Andrew Triplett. And you got to stop me too, because I'm a talker. And
That's okay. You speaking. That's what we
like, boy, I got questions. We only got an hour. I'll be thinking we have all day. Because when it comes to the goodness of God, I can talk about it all day. And I got a story to tell too.
okay.
And there was a cameraman, Andrew Triplett, who said, is that Andre Lee Ellis talking? And I said, yeah. He said, what you doing over here? I said, I just moved here. And he said, boy, it's rough over here. And I watched that unfold. But that was a corner where I saw all kinds of things happening, drug deals. There were a lot of fights, a lot of gun shooting, and a lot of it happened right while the children were in school. It was inside the LaFollette Street School. So I said to him, I said, you know what, now that I'm here, maybe we need to take our hands off the trigger and put them back in the soil. I said, I'm going to change things over here. I said, I think God sent me. I said that to him. He often reminds me of that because I forgot I said it. But I began to get to work, and I would, on Saturdays, I would just pull my grill out. I didn't even have the money or know how I did it, but I would bring hamburgers out and hot dogs out, and I would cook that food, and I would invite everybody, just come and eat. But before I feed them, I said, we're going to pray. And then I would talk to them. I said, y'all, we got to stop this. We got to be over here together. Everybody take a moment and get to know somebody you don't know. Get to know somebody you used to talk to that you don't talk to no more. Maybe y'all had a fight. Maybe they killed your brother or your sister and you never forgave them. But let's do some forgiveness. And we went from being the second highest crime block in the city to not even being on the list anymore. And that happened within a 3-year period. Do you want me to keep going?
You are hey, this is me. I'm interviewing you, so I want to hear what you have to say. I'm just amazed at the impact, and one thing that we have to be reminded of is that it just starts small. You just do your part because you really just talking about your area where you had to live, and you made such a difference that it kind of spread abroad.
Well,
Because
God, you
right
know,
now,
go
huh?
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You said
I was
because
gonna
right
say,
now,
yeah, right now it the We Got This is such a big thing in the city because you guys are you teaching young men to garden and all of those things, clean up the neighborhood.
yep, I
How
was,
many
go ahead.
how many young boys have come past you, come through your path?
Within an 8-year period, a few thousands.
Uh,
But how we got this started is one day a mother, and I'm gonna tell you this because this is funny. And I think people
uh,
think I make it up because I'm an actor and I'm a writer, director. Theater is
yeah,
my life too.
here.
But a mother was frantically knocking on my door one day because her 11-year-old son was being arrested by the police for breaking in cars and things like that. And what he was doing was serious. It could have caused him to be a felon at an early age. And she knocked on my door so hard. I lived upstairs. And then I asked her, well, where is his father at? And she said, I don't know, Mr. Andre, but I need your help. Somebody told me to come get you. And then I said, okay. I said, okay, I'm coming down. Now listen to this. I said, I'm coming down. I said, don't worry, we got this. I said, we got this. I'm
Yeah,
coming down. So I came downstairs. We went over to 5th District and I met with the liaison officer at that time. His name was Ray Robakowski. And I was explaining to him, I said, well, you can't arrest little Jermaine. And I made up a little story right there. It was a lie. It was not true. But, God will work with your lie. If it has some room for him in it, he'll work it out. And I said, you can't arrest little Jermaine. I said, because I just started a garden program. I said, and little Jermaine is going to be my first one coming. I hate he got in this trouble. So he's got to be there this Saturday at 8 o'clock. He's going to work from 8 to 12. I'm going to pay him $5 an hour. We're going to clean up the neighborhood, and I'm going to teach him how to change, how to grow food, and that's going to help him change his life, and he's going to become an asset in the community versus a problem. And he got that white man got so excited. He said, I love this, but before I can move, I got to talk to the captain. What is the name of your program? And out of my mouth spewed, with no hesitation, I looked him straight in his face and I said, we got this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Jermaine was looking at me like, this old dude is cold. And I looked at Jermaine, I said, yeah, the old man is a cold man for real. I said, and it's not bragging or anything. I just know who I belong to, and from there we met that, and he went with it. They went with it. They released Jermaine to me. And that Saturday, Jermaine showed up at the garden at 7:30 a.m. to work because I told him he couldn't be late. And that little boy worked so hard. And during our work, this is what made me make the commitment, because he looked up at me and he said, Mr. Andre, can I tell you something? I said, yeah, Jermaine, what is it? He said, I'm not as bad as they say I am. He said, in fact, the people that tell me would not.
Uh-oh. Wait. You hit mute.
I had not had anybody to believe in me. So I paid Jermaine. Later that day, I saw Jermaine walking, and I knew it was him. He had on all white, and this wasn't no dirty white. This was nice white. As if I knew, but he had been waiting to wear these clothes, a white T-shirt and pants. And I said, Jermaine, what's happening? Where you going? He said, Mr. Andre, that $20 you gave me? He said, well, I took 5 of it, and I went and got a haircut. And he said, and with the other 5, I'm gonna take it and ride the bus out to the skating ring. He said, and with $5, I'm gonna pay my way in and that rent my skates. He said, with the last 5, I'm gonna buy me a hot dog and a soda. And then he looked me in my face, and it almost looked like he had a tear. And he said, I finally get to go skating, Mr. Andre. And that's how we got this started. And from there, the boys started coming. I don't even know, we didn't advertise. I said, Jermaine, be back next Saturday. And this little booger gonna bring 5 other dudes with him that he told, I know an old man that we could go work at his garden. Y'all gotta listen to everything he say. He laid it out. He said, y'all gotta listen to everything he say. And he gonna give us $20 and we could all go skating again. I ain't never told Jermaine that either, but I didn't have no garden when I was talking to that police officer either. So
Right.
God was working with all of the lies. He, and now here lies, we got.
Here live.
By the end of that summer, sister, it was 100 boys in that garden. Because after Jermaine bought that 5, the next week it was 10. It was 34 after that. Then the next Saturday, it was 67 boys. And the only thing that we did is, I said, when Jermaine bought the 5, I said, I don't know how I'm going to pay y'all. I said, but I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. Take your fist and put it in the air. I'm going to take a picture. And I'm going to put it on Facebook, and I'm going to ask other black men to come by at 12 o'clock and help pay. 7 black men showed up that Saturday. And then the next Saturday, the 10 boys came. I took the picture. The 34 boys came. I took the picture. And by 12 o'clock each of those Saturday, I had the money I needed to pay those boys. And the next Saturday, 67 boys showed up. And that was... And that was strange because it was that Saturday that we were cleaning the streets. And I was bent over picking up paper, and I heard a voice behind me say, "Hey, what are you guys picking up? Bullets?" And when I turned, it was a Milwaukee police officer in a paddy wagon. And I got really belligerent because it drove the boys crazy. They were like, see, no matter what we do, they don't believe in us. We don't even be doing nothing, and they come harassing us and messing with us. And so I caught attention to that, and I walked up to him, and I said, "Yo, mama," to the police officer. And I said, and your wife ain't no good either. I said, and you don't like that either, do you? I said, but I'm Andre Lee Ellis. I said, and this is We Got This. We over here doing good work. I said, I'm getting ready to go talk to Officer Robakowski over there at the 5th District and the captain, and we're going to pull you off of the street. You can't come back on this block. And that's what I did. And that's what I did, and God was working. But when it was 67, I said, Lord, I don't know what to do. People ain't going to keep coming and bringing this money just because I'm taking the picture. But the next Saturday, without advertising, 100 boys showed up in that garden. And that was the day that I said to them, how many of you don't know your dad? 90 of them raised their hands. I said, how many of you know your dad but still don't have a relationship with him? It was 5 more. Out of 100 little black boys who woke up on a Saturday morning to get to that garden by 8 o'clock, because, sister, up to this day, I have never let one boy come through that garden when they are there at 8:00.1, not 8:01, 8:00.1 is late. When that gate is shut, you could be running down the street to get there. And I shut the gate, and you end up right there, and you say, I'm right here, Mr. Andre. I say, but you're late. Go home, come back, come back next Saturday. You got to try to beat time, and we just have had tremendous success with it. We've lost boys to death that have been a part of the program. Some of them have gone to jail, but for the most part, a lot of these young men don't want to get in trouble. And it was that Saturday when I said to them, I don't have to be your birth dad. I am your earth dad. You can call me Pops if you want to. And that's what many of them call me. You might look at my page and you see a lot of them say, hey, Pops, and grown men as well. So I'll stop there so that you can keep it.
That's how it used to be, where the village kind of helped, the ones that needed help. So that's very unfortunate. I know earlier this summer, you lost somebody that really meant something to you, a young man, when we were trying to connect. So my condolences to you in regards to
I lost my son.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure.
My real
son. I wasn't sure, but I knew it was someone. And so my heart, went out to you then, and it still does, because I know, the burden and the passion that you have for the young black men. So that kind of leads into what I was going to inquire with you about is, how are you doing in your heart, and what is burning on the inside in regards to the continuous murders and even the civil unrest, the lack of justice, and then the street justice that's going on.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm preparing myself, because I told you I have to be a sample and example. And you're looking at a man who who lives with congestive heart failure,
My
diabetes,
God.
and high blood pressure. I mean, I've been in ICU on 4 different occasions where they talking about some sort of heart attack, but God is healing, because here recently, since October 1st, I gave up drinking everything except water. I only drink water. I don't drink
Okay.
anything else but water. I gave up smoking or doing anything into my body to get high or anything like that. I ain't never been no serious drug addict. But to me, your habit is whenever you do it. That's your habit.
Right.
If you
Right.
do it once a year, you got a once a year habit. I don't knock anybody for what they do, but I got to be a separate example. And these young men need to always be able to say, I know one man, I know an old man that quit everything cold turkey. Now I do say a little bad word here and there. I'm a cussing Christian, but
Uh-huh.
I
There
tell
are
people
many
all, I tell people all the time, God ain't mad. Why you got an attitude? You know, so I'm working on it. I recently gave up artificial sugar because I needed my mind and my spirit to be prepared for the midnight hour when I got to run out here and see a young man laying in the streets, or console a mother. And on 12 different occasions, I've been a part of funerals and homegoings and helping to just settle. But bigger than that is having grown to the point that I'm now the gardener, or one of the gardeners at the Vel Phillips Juvenile Justice Center, where when you talk about your gifts will make room for you, because I don't have a college degree. I don't have
Yeah.
all of that. I don't have that. But at 7 years old, when I came home crying about the kids teasing me about being black and ugly or whatever, my mother gave me a book, who couldn't read or really write real good and wasn't a highly educated woman, but she used to clean the floors of the rich white people. And she found this book of Negro spirituals, and she said, here, read this poem. And it was by Langston Hughes, and it said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They
Yeah.
send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh, I eat well, and I grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. For I too am America. And I'm happy to say to you, sister, that today I'm at the table. Not my will,
Yeah.
but thy will be done. I'm at the table and I have a voice, and I get to speak on behalf of my community, my brotherhood, especially the young black man. And when you
Yeah.
tell me what they can't do, I'm gonna tell you to remove the apostrophe T, and you get the first word, which is what they can do. When you tell me what they wouldn't do, remove the apostrophe T, and I'm gonna tell you what they would do, because the apostrophe T gave us an excuse and an outlet to go a different route. But if we just tell them that there's no other way but the godly way, they'll get into enough trouble and they'll sit in that jail or at home or in that hell. And before you know it, they too are talking about giving their life to God at 14, 15 years old. They said, Mr. Andre, I need to turn to Christ. I went to church Sunday. So being the example that God makes us works. God works. No matter whether you see it or not, it works.
So being a black man in the community, I think that there's a lot of weight. You know, I'm married to a black man. I have 2 black sons, and I see what they go through on a daily basis. And then, of course, the broader experience of our black men, period, amongst our community and our heritage. Um, it's almost like you have to carry the burden of just more than your kids, of more than just your own children. You have to carry the burden of community. Why do you think so many men, or not so many, why do you think that there are times when some black men just don't feel the responsibility? Why they don't want to join in? How do you get men, black men, your peers, or even some younger, to buy in to the vision of helping to lift up these young black boys?
Well, I think it started in the 60s when welfare became a prevalent thing, and they started moving the black man around because, 60s, 70s, we had fathers and grandfathers that worked at A.O. Smith, and they had good jobs, and they weren't highly educated, but they were making $700, $800, and $1,000 a week. We were moving out, we were buying homes in Brown Deer, and they didn't have degrees or anything like that. They just had a pool table in the basement and a nice stereo, and that's where we went on the holidays, and we thought that was a trip out of town. It would take so long to get there. We thought we were like, that's like going to Chicago. And then they're gonna have barbecue and they got all of the stuff we wish we had. But I think what happened is when you moved the black man out of the house, a lot of mothers were forced to try to raise those boys by themselves. And because the government and systems would not allow black men to work it out, a lot of them became angry and they just gave up. But he'll get old enough to find me and he'll want to be with me. And then you had a lot of mothers and women, and don't get mad at me, sisters, but some of y'all did that. Y'all fell with the trap of it too. And so when you got mad at the man, you would use the government on them. You call the police and stuff like that. Plus drugs and alcohol was starting to get really big in the 70s. And so a lot of the men who would feel bad about not being able to be fathers would go, and I think they started to get high and things like that. And somehow that just became a trend of single mothers trying to raise these boys. And if that be the case, when the boys got mad at the mama, they would blame her for daddy not being there. I wouldn't be here either. And so next thing you know, they out the window trying to run away, and now they're in the streets and the mother is crying out and she don't have no choice but to give them to God. And sometimes they were getting high too, or they had another boyfriend that came into the house and didn't want that boy there because I'm gonna kill him if he stay here. He ain't gonna be talking to me like that. He ain't mine, he yours. And the son would have to hear that. And so then the boys are forced to try to grow up on their own, and they get out here and meet a young lady, get her pregnant. Now they got a baby by her, and they don't know nothing about raising the baby. She only know what she saw her mom and them do to the other man, and so she do that to him. And so it just started becoming a cycle. And now we've gotten to a point where we have so many boys that don't know their dad. The pipeline, the prison, was prevalent and was being built by the government. And I've been real vocal on this lately, and I don't know how much trouble I'm gonna get in because I'm getting ready to mess with their money, but they're not gonna keep calling us the worst. But the pipeline to prison, if you look at it, since I've been working in the system and going to court with these young men, because I go into court where there's nothing but a group of all white men. You might have a lady court reporter and a few white lawyers or a few black attorneys that sound like them too, that live out in River Hills and Glendale, because you don't have to live here to work here and get the money, and then you don't pay taxes here. So you live out there with them, and they're in the courtroom, and they're judging them by their folders. And so what I've come in and said, hey, let me create a new folder. Give me 90 days with them. Let them come work in the garden. I don't care if they're 18 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. Let me work with them. Let me create a new folder, and then I'll bring that folder back and say, let's take them to another point. But we have to begin to show, and a lot of brothers are stepping forth. It's not just me. There's so many in the community doing the work. You name Muhib and Kwabena and Khalil, and even older, you got that. But what has happened now is a lot of the older black men that are doing the work in the community are men who have gone to prison, and they too have adopted the concept of being the Earth Dad. So I hope I answered your question, but I was trying to get a lot in a little bit of time.
That's okay. I want to hear as much as you can give, because I think it's most valuable. I believe that more conversations like this need to be had, so that some men who do not know what's going on in the community, and not by choosing to be ignorant, but they just don't know, so that they can know what's going on and that they can help. I remember a while ago, some years ago, you did the 500 tuxedo. Is that correct?
It was a couple of years ago. We haven't did it in 2 years. And this year we wanted to do it, but the pandemic came. So now we're kind of stuck with that. But
tell me what motivated that, and what pushed that, and how can we make sure we make those type of things happen again?
It's going to happen again. My wife and I were getting ready to go out to dinner one day, and little Malik and his friends were out playing, and I came out, and anybody that know me know when I dress up, I like to dress up. I do. I like to get and once in a while, my wife like it when I dress up. She think I'm a little sexy and handsome to her. So we were dressed up and to go out to dinner. And they saw us and they was like, Mr. Andre, where you going, to church? I said, no, I'm going to dinner. They were like, dressed up? They said, wow, we ain't never went out dressed up. I wish we could wear a suit and go dressed up to dinner. So we went to Carson's, and while we were sitting there, I was perplexed. I was like, and I know my whole conversation is they ought to be able to put on a suit and go out to eat if they want to. What do they mean? I said, I want to teach them how to tie a tie. And so I just got up. I said, I'll be right back. And she was like, what are you doing, Andre Lee Ellis? And I said, my wife calls me that too. And she said, what are you doing, Andre Lee Ellis? I said, I'm going to talk to the manager. I'm going to see if we can rent this place out one day and bring the boys down here in tuxedos for dinner. And so I went and talked to the lady that was the manager. She right away called the owner of Carson's. He owned another restaurant in Chicago and put us on the phone together. And he said, this is interesting because there's an organization over here that work with young Black boys that get in trouble that I'm a part of and I donate to. I would love to do that in Milwaukee. And the strange thing is that while he's in Chicago, his television could look into the restaurant here and see what was going on. So he saw me there talking and he agreed. And we set it up for that December. I went and talked to Elliot Torrance at Torrance's House of Threads because I wanted a Black vendor to get the money. I knew that if we had, it was called 100 Black tuxedos for 100 Black tuxedos that first year. And I wanted him to get that money. When I went home that night, I put a post up and I said, I need 50 Black men to come forward and rent a tuxedo for a little Black boy and mentor him for a day so that we could take him out to dinner. Carson's Steakhouse has agreed. And then I went and found a sponsor that paid for the dinner. So there was no additional cost there. God just blessed. And, you know, when you go with the God plan in your life, everything that you need is already there. Everything. There's a box already in heaven with your blessings in it. And you don't have to go nowhere else but to that box. And everything you need, God got it. And so we did the event that year. And what was strange is that 1 week before that event, I had my first heart attack. And it was really strange, sister. I was in the ICU unit. And I kept telling the doctors that I'm going to that event. And they were like, well, you better get somebody else to plan to go because you're not going to make it. I even had the team come the night before, the day, 2 days before the event and meet with me in the hospital room. And that was strange because they usually don't let more than 2 people in your room. And I had 8 people. Eight people in that room and we met and I said, I'm coming, but I might not make it. And in case I don't, can y'all please make sure everything go right? And for some strange reason, the day before that event, another doctor who I had not seen walked in that room. And then I was like, well, who are you? He said, well, your other doctor couldn't make it in today. And I'm filling in for him. And the next words out of his mouth was, I don't know why you still here. Would you like to go home today? I said, oh, wow. I started crying. And I said, oh, man. I said, man, I don't mean to cry on you. I said, but if you let me go home today, I can go to this tuxedo event with these little Black boys I've been working with. And I explained it all to him. And he said, consider it done. Get yourself ready. You could go home. And I went home. I went straight from the hospital to Elliot's, to House of Torrance's to get my tuxedo straight. And I said, Elliot, are you going to have it ready by tomorrow? He said, for you, everything's going to be perfect. He just could not believe it. And I didn't tell anybody I came home. I just showed up that next day when they were getting there at Northcott House, getting ready. And I showed up. And you should have saw the tears of the young men and the mothers and everybody in the rejoicing that went on in that place. And we went down there and it was so successful that we took a picture on the bridge. And in that bridge, I saw PKSD. And I knew that was a law firm. And I saw those letters and I was like, how they end up in our picture? And so I said, you know what? I need a billboard of this moment to go up in the city so that the boys will lift their heads up out the ground, because I tell them all the time, your blessings are up in the air. You don't live on the ground. That's where you lay once they kill you. But when you want to live, look up and live. And I saw PKSD. So I went and met with them. A sister named Bria Grant had gotten that together for us. And we met with them. And I was like, there's a way to Photoshop your name out of the picture. But if you want to stay in the picture, pay for this billboard. Yeah. And we got the billboard, put their faces up. And it was such a demand from brothers to want to be a part that I said, you know what, we need to call this the 500 Black Tuxedos. And the next year,
Okay.
the year after that, and the year after that is what it was called. And that's how that was birthed.
God, that is so amazing. I mean, and it looks like, God just drops favor in your life. It's like as you go, he'll bless you and he gives you strategy to make sure that the next thing is ready, the next thing can happen. With all of the work that you put into the community, um, talk to me about the value of the relationships. I know you mentioned your wife, even your children. You talked about how important it is to have your grandchildren around. Tell me how much that means to you, first of all, as a man, then a Black man, and as one who I know you care about your legacy and what that family unit means to you.
Well, my wife's name is Angela. And so I
Yeah.
always say God gave me an angel with an A on the end. And,
Okay.
and if anybody know me, they'll see me always lifting her up. We've been married, we've been dating, we were together 14 years, but we've been married 12. And
Okay.
I used to own a bar on the corner of 7th and Garfield. And I was
Mhm.
washing dishes one day. I had moved back from Phoenix, Arizona, where I was in another relationship, but I broke it off. And so it had been 2 years because I told God the next relationship I get into, I want to get married. And
Okay.
so I was washing dishes, and in walked this woman that was just had a light in her face to me. It wasn't
Mhm.
about how pretty or how beautiful. She was just shining and bright. And when I looked up at her, God said to me, "That's your wife." And I was like, "Wife? That's my wife. I don't want to, I'm not going to marry no bar woman, you know." And then he said, "Whom I call, I qualify. Well, I send, you accept." And
Yeah.
before I knew it, I was over there in her face. And I don't know nothing about rapping to no sister. But most girlfriends I got was because they made me know they liked me first, because I didn't want my feelings hurt. So I ain't
Yeah.
had no. But before I know it, I was in sister's face. And I told sister, I said, "Hey, I ain't never seen you here." She said, "I know who you are, Andre Lee Ellis." So I've been here before. And I asked her, I said, "Do you have a boyfriend?" She said, "No." I said, "Are you married?" "No." I said, "Are you dating?" "No." I said, "Do you play games?" "No." I said, "Because I only want to get married." She didn't say anything, but we have not been apart from that moment right there to now. We have spent every day of our life together since that moment. She had children. It's not been easy, but growing never is easy. And
Right.
so together we have 6 children. We have 23 grandchildren with one on the way. That includes Khalil kids too, though, because he would
Yeah.
let me call anybody grandkids, and his not be included. Um, the value of that is that
Oh, you hit the mute button.
man has to lead. If
Go,
for
go
a
back
family,
to go
not
back
that
to
uh,
go. We missed where you said the value of that is.
a man has to lead.
Mhm.
Not that single mothers do it all the time. They do a great job, but it is easier when even a lot of single mothers that are successful um, with raising their sons or daughters, they usually have community help. They have men within the community that help them. So without the help of a man, it's very hard. So I value that. And it's funny that you bring up the word value, because I say now that we need to teach young people how to negotiate their value, not from their necessity or need. Um, that's really where it is. Family is important to me. I come from a family of 14 kids. My mother um, and father. My own father, died when my mother was 3 months pregnant with me. And I never knew him. But I had a tremendous mother, and I had a stepdad that we didn't have the best relationship, but
Uh-huh.
I was never homeless and never without light or food. Sorry about that little interruption right there.
Don't
Um,
worry.
and the value, I know what can happen when the family unit is strong. I grew up with brothers and sisters that we done got grown and don't know what to do with each other, because when we were younger, it was just us. It was
Right.
nobody else but us. So I am and in the streets raised me. But I was blessed
Mhm.
to not be one of the kids that was attracted to trouble. I've never been arrested, like in prison or jail or nothing like that. But I've always
Hit the mute.
don't have to go to jail. You can um, survive out here. So
Yeah.
that's the value. I think God really trained me and prepared me for these moments, such a time as this.
Mhm. So now, since you have that, I mean, what a great story. What a great collective of experiences that you are sharing. I think they are valuable. And now I'm going back to your first sermon when you're preaching and the Lord tells you you're not going to be preaching in the pulpit. Um, how do you feel about that now?
Oh, because it was a chance to, if you get to know God's voice, then you'll be able to understand and accept his instructions. And I've been in church since I was 7,
Uh-huh.
singing in church and things like that. But that was a moment when God spoke to me, and that, you hear people talk about that quiet, still little voice, and God is a deliverer. And God is a deliverer. There is nothing that that God cannot deliver you from. Um, th- that became very important to me. I have my little granddaughter is coming in, and you're getting ready to hear her. Adrena, I need you to go back upstairs. Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay. Um, um, I am extreme that she threw me off. I will tell you that there's no greater love than the love that God has for us. Just like God made me a father to the young man, the earth dad, he is the heavenly father. And, and
Yeah.
and he already knew before I was born, he knew the hairs on my head. And it's true. The word of God is true. If anybody else don't believe, I believe, and I think I believe enough for other people. So I
I'm,
value voice.
yeah. So I'm gonna say this before we go. I'll let you go. I know that these weekends are for the babies. I understand that because I got my grandbabies too. Um, Tell me, are there any initiatives that you have going on right now? I know you have the holiday um gift giveaway, correct?
Yes. It's
Oh,
coming up for Christmas, and we are receiving or asking people to donate toys for the giveaway.
where
We're
should
not
they drop
looking.
it off? Where should
Well,
they?
I can give you the number. They can also give us a call here at our home at my number, which is 414-779-2476. But on December 19th, the
Mhm.
22nd, 23rd, and the 24th will be in the garden on the corner of 9th and Ring Street, receiving gift donations as well there. If people pay attention to our Facebook page and to our
Okay,
website, WeGotThis-MKE.com, they can receive those instructions right there.
that is so awesome. Is there any other initiatives that you have going on that you want us to know about?
Well, presently we're just trying to just get the information out, see people get healed. We hope that the vaccine will help and get rid of the pandemic that's going on, because I always call it the pandemonic. But
Mhm.
until we get rid of that, we have to be cautious and we have to be careful. But the other initiative that I want to start, and I wanted to talk about it before, and we didn't get our full hour in, and I want to do that. I don't want to stop early. I want
Come
to get
on.
I want to get my
I
fellow in,
sure
and
you
everything and everybody else can wait because you waited 20 minutes for me, and I'm going to give God his time. This is a godly moment, highly spiritual. I am excited. And anytime you're working in a godly moment, you can bet that that old Beelzebub going to try to get in and intercept it. He'll turn a party into a tragedy in a minute if you aren't careful and if you aren't rooted and grounded. But there's a population that is the pipeline to prison here in our city with Black men, and that's the ages 18 to 50. There are no programs really that service them. You know, you can go into foster care, you can go into prison and all of that, but once you turn 17, there is I had to tell them not to talk. Once you turn 17, there are no programs available for the 18 to 50-year-old Black man to participate in other than prison waiting for them. I am here to declare that your degree does not have to keep me beneath my abilities and my need to be valued in life. I'll tell you why is this. Once I had about 28 to 35 doctor students from Marquette coming to the garden, and they were talking. And I expressed to them that I asked them, how many of you, what are your degrees? What is your degree in? Or what are you going to school for? And everybody was doing something in urban, they were urban medicine, urban education, urban something, and they were all white students except one Black boy. And I looked at them and I said, you know, it's interesting that you can go to any college or university in America and you can get a degree in urban anything. And I always feel like when they say urban, they're talking about poor Black and brown people. If they say rural, they talk about poor white people. But what college or university do I go to get a degree in suburban anything? Who teaches me how to keep white people poor? And nobody could answer that. So when we stop going to jail, we interrupt people's households and their livelihoods. They got to find something else to do, just like we do when we don't go to jail. If we've been practicing that, we got to find something else to do. So all of it needs to become equal turf. So that's my initiative that I'm looking into now. How do we begin to create services and do things that will help the Black man, 18 to 50 years old, find a place in life other than getting used to being institutionalized?
That is really, really deep. And it's so profound because you don't think about it. And it is true. It's urban this and urban that. But where is the suburban? Where is that? Teach us how to be suburban. Right. Teach us how to go into your school and teach your kids.
Or even if you don't teach us that, accept us for being Black, accept us for being who we are. It's all right to be that. I like this new president that's coming in because no matter what has happened in the past or what he's practiced, I heard him out loud say, I owe Black people something. Things will be different. Things will be different for Black people. And then I'm watching him appoint Black people to positions. I don't know what they're training. They might be suburban Black people because we got some of them too, you know.
And that's
but that they're there, the children see people that look like their mothers or their fathers or people in their family. They get to see that, and then they can begin to think to themselves that I'm going to grow up and I'm going to become something. I could become president. I saw Barack Obama on the Jimmy Kimmel show last night, and I was just so pleased with this man's demeanor. Even if some people don't think he did a whole lot, he was president, doggone it, and he was president twice. And if nothing else, that's what was nice about it. And he showed little Black boys that if they don't be president, they can be the president of a corporation. They can be a president of their own business. They can be the captain of their own homes. And so that's what we need to start pointing out and looking at, and that's where I'm at on it.
That's awesome. I want you to also tell us ways that we can contribute and like help you. I know you need manpower. You know, are men to come alongside you to help with your initiative. I'm sure that you need monetary gifts, all of those kind of things. And I know you're not you have something that the women can help out too, right?
Oh yeah, the best way that the women can help out is coming and seeing that there are men helping and working. And then if you see that your hands can get busy, a lot of women do the gardening because we didn't talk much about that, but the gardening is so important. As I do an exercise with the young men in the garden, and when we're planting, we call it soil. We don't call it dirt. Dirt is on the bottom of your shoes.
Right.
Soil can go into your stomach. I have them all put their hands in the soil. And I tell them to look up at the sky. Now look at the person next to you. I said, now without taking your hands out of the soil, pull your gun out and shoot it. As long as you have your hands in the soil, you cannot put it on the trigger of a gun. Keep your hands in the soil. So the women are there and they watch that. We do some exchanges with the women. Women can come, and I don't know that they are necessarily called mentors, but they're called mothers, and they can come and they can be there with their sons, and they find that they can adopt other ways to communicate with their sons. They also get to meet other women and men in the community that can help as well. I got to tell you that more women come than men at this point. We need more men to come forward. And the way that you can do that, you can visit our website at WeGotThis-MKE.com. You very rarely see me asking for money. I really don't do it. You don't see posts where I'm saying, go and donate, cash at me, go fund me. I have all of that in case people wanted to inquire, but you can call that phone number, but you can go to our website. And if you just see our story, it will lead you to give the way you can, because everybody don't have money to give, but your time, your energy, some of your clothes that are not really in bad shape but can still be worn by somebody else, you can donate that. You may have garden tools that you want to give away. You may have food that you want to donate to families, things like that. We have a lunch program that we work with Running Rebels and a group called The Garden. Called The Gathering. They bring food every day to the garden. And when they don't bring it to the garden, I put it right on my front porch. And my neighbors over here on 34th and Highland can go right on that porch and grab those lunches, because I'm under the impression that when you give, you get. So when you get, give. It's just an even exchange, because people, stuff, and things are going to stay here long after you die. And we're hoarding it. And I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. Never.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great principle to kind of end on. When you give, you will give. But you got to give first in order to give. That's awesome. I was going to ask you, though, how is the garden right now? What you got in there?
Frozen soil. You got frozen soil and
how did you do this?
Preparation. But here's what we do have. We were able to work with Milwaukee School of Engineering and the city of Milwaukee, and we got a grant and work with a group called Groundworks, MKE, and we built a hoop house. And the hoop house will allow us to grow food in inclement weather. So we're still pulling it together, but hopefully by next winter, but we're in there doing work now, but very soon we'll be growing food there, and that way we'll be able to have food all year round and make sure that everybody's eating good stuff.
That is awesome. And so how is your health now lately? Since you've made all these changes, how are you doing?
4 heart attacks later, I'm still alive. You know,
Right.
4 heart attacks later, and the heart is beating at the percentage that it was when they first told me I had a problem. It was spiraling down for a moment, but now, since I've made those changes, and you can heal a broken heart. You can do that. I'm working now to reverse the diabetes that I dealt with for so long, and since I given up all of those things and just drinking water, those numbers have become tremendous, incredible. And so in 2 weeks, I'm doing a live doctor's appointment with my doctor at Columbia St. Mary's Hospital, and I am your Be a Good Heart campaign representative. I'm one of those for Columbia St. Mary's Hospital because of those improvements. But I'm doing a live, transparent interview with him, and I'm going to reveal all of my numbers from my heart to everything that we're doing to the public, because I don't want people to think that I'm just making this stuff up. I want them to know that it can happen. It doesn't, and actually, I believe this, sister. Until we find a cure for death, there's no cure for nothing that can keep you here. But the title of the new book that's coming out, that's being, I'm working with a publishing company right now. And the title of the book is, Since I Have to Die Anyway, I Might as Well Die Beautiful.
Okay.
So we're really excited about that. Yeah.
Since I have to die. And you said a cure for death, huh? A cure for death?
I said, until there's a cure for death, there's no cure for nothing that'll keep you here on earth.
Right.
So we pay $10 a month to Planet Fitness to keep us here. And then the healthiest people come home and have a heart attack in their sleep and pass away because they're overdoing it. You know, it's when we wake up every day, our responsibility is to other people that is alive with us. But we're always trying to outdo or be a little better than. And I teach young Black boys that you have a right. It's not what you've been doing. It's what you're getting ready to do. That you woke up, I said it in the beginning, that you woke up is another chance, another day, another way to get it right.
I think we're going to end on that. That's all. Thank you so much for your time. I'm fortunate, I'm inspired, and I feel really good. I really do. And I am praying, first of all, of course, that you as a person, that all things that's connected to you will be well, but also every initiative that you have put forth in the name of community, in the name of our Black boys, I am praying that all will be well. We appreciate you, Mr. Andre Lee Ellis. Thank you.
All praises to God. I take no credit, and I won't begin to do it because I ain't gonna have that fifth heart attack because so hard. It doesn't matter to me. I don't have to get the congratulatory. But if I could create a legacy and begin to build young men that can take over the spot that I'm in, then I'm doing my part.
Thank you.